afternoon. Welcome to the Temple of Dona channel. I am Dona. Um, Man, very happy to be back. I hope everyone is enjoying their beautiful Thursday, or if you're catching this at a later date, I hope you're enjoying it all just the same. It's very beautiful here in northern Idaho, yet very cold and windy, and I'm surviving in these -1, -2 degrees. It's a little chilly, but nothing too detrimental. And you gotta, no pain, no gain, as they say, right? So, yeah, happy to be here. To all the new subscribers, thank you for subscribing to the channel. It's an honor to be here and to be able to at least entertain your brain for a few minutes. I know how the world is. It's like we're jumping from one channel to the next channel, and everybody's got something to say nowadays, and that's a great thing. So I'm glad for all of you tuning in, staying for the whole duration of this video, or just tuning in for a few minutes. Man, many blessings to you. To all those subscribers, thank you for coming back. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I want to talk about being true to who you are. The last couple years, I started getting into consistent meditation. I'd always wanted to. It just wasn't something I was disciplined enough to do in my 20s. So now that I've had this reawakening in 2019, some of you already may know this story, but I'm going to say it again a little bit differently for the new subscribers and people who haven't. 2019, I had an awakening, spiritual awakening. And after that, my life never was the same again. And I started practicing meditation consistently every day. I've been on it for the last 6 years. And one thing I noticed was that initially, when I started going into this process, I was going in with the intention of healing, the intention of finding answers. And I was doing all this with God. I was bringing in that spirit. I know some call it universe, some call it many different names. I'm not going to be too picky about that, but I was coming in with clear intentions. I was coming in, calling in the Lord and just saying, well, help me through this, guide me through all these thought processes. And I want to come out feeling different each time. I want to essentially transmutate and ascend higher than than who I went in as. And I started realizing that the dominant thoughts obviously were the obvious. They were the obvious. So, not to get into too much detail there, those were the easy ones to pick out. And what initially started happening was the healing of these different layers as I kept venturing in more and more, and my heart was beginning to open and really heal. And I was beginning to see things in my external world. I was being shown signs and symbols while I was in this very deep meditative state, almost like how do they say, like a lucid dream, right? I was taught by my mentor that you should just lay still as if you're floating on a nice body of water. And so I was in these very lucid states, and these symbolisms and all this stuff kept coming up. And I would come out of these meditations with much transformation. Tears were shed. There was a lot of different things that were taking place, as I've already mentioned. And the one key thing was that I was beginning to expand out into my external world. I kept meeting all these different kinds of people. People were showing up into my world in the most wildest ways, most odd, random ways, in my personal opinion. And some of these relationships I still have to this very day. I'm very thankful for those. Others just kind of came and went. It was a seasonal thing. It was a lesson, as some would put it. But nonetheless, I was seeing myself in all of these parts. So there was this two-step process to discovering my truth and discovering my unique individuality, if you want to call it. Excuse me. And the funny thing is that I realize now, and I think it's just from being consistent in this process, is that there's not going to be anyone like you. There is never going to be anyone like you. There's only going to be you born in this world. And it's our duty, and I believe our responsibility, to get through all these layers, work through all these traumas, work through all these mental triggers, emotional things that we've all been there. I've had anxiety starting off. Anxiety started in my life around high school, and I couldn't even sit down in class. I used to have to just leave and ditch, and yeah, it was just one of those things. Thank God I got past those security guards. But It was very much like it was a tormented hell for me, especially being a teenager. You're watching all your peers and people are living these quote unquote normal teenage lives and they're dating and things. And for me, it just never seemed possible. And then obviously this carries on and things are dropping away. And then I have that breakthrough in 2019. And I'm getting through all these layers and I'm shifting and I'm finding out where the anxiety came from, where it started. I'm doing some tracking. And then what ends up happening is you start realizing the opinions of the world, right? Everything that we've ever believed about ourselves or about others or about the world, that all this stuff begins to sort of fade because now you've taken hold of spirit. Now you're not coming from these patterns that were learned in your childhood. You're not coming from these themes and things that have always been held up in this world as truths and dogmas and cliches. And now you can start rewriting your script from a fresh, clean slate. And that's exactly what happened. And I believe that it's so important for us to dive deep into who we really are. Old belief systems, do we really need them right now? Old beliefs about God, politics, music, entertainment, anything that is not of a brand new part of us that we truly, whatever the desire that we have been, whatever desire has been put on our heart, which I believe always comes from God, that for us to follow through on that, sometimes things have to go so new things can come in and we can continuously shift and we can always be authentically us in these new seasons. We could be the best version of ourselves. Even if we're going through some tribulation or a bit of turbulence, there's always going to be that rock we can stand on, which is our authenticity and center in the Lord Jesus Christ. It's the truth. It's the only thing that saved my life when I look back and when I'm thinking now. I was a bit sentimental yesterday and had this really beautiful meditation in the morning. And it was all these beautiful thoughts that started coming to me as I was releasing and dropping off old baggage. And I was beginning to examine life from this other point of view instead of being driven by my emotion, instead of being driven by thoughts and patterns that I would have had this very, I want to say, unhealthy attachment to. Now I was looking at it from a non attached perspective as if it was just a thought sort of floating by. And I was able to examine it from a different perspective, from a different point of view. And I said, this is interesting. I don't really need this because this stuff is still coming up. Again, going through layers and layers and layers. It's not to fault ourselves when things do come up that we didn't realize were still there, because there's going to be new people coming into our lives. There's going to be new situations, new places, things. Anything of the physical manifestation is going to teach us about ourselves. And I don't believe there's ever going to be anything necessarily deemed perfect in this universe from a human standpoint, but that's where we need to go higher to understand the perfection that always is existing with God and with the universe, and where we really stand in this time with our soul's process and our soul's progress to get to this next level. And nothing's ever promised tomorrow, so why not be the best you today? That's my new philosophy. Nothing's promised tomorrow. Live as if you're already dead and be the best you right now. So I believe that it's very important, again, for us to follow our truth, um, even in the midst of opinions that may come to you from outside perspectives. You have to really look into their lives and understand that they don't mean any harm. There's nothing to be taken too personal. They have their own experience and things they're dealing with. And a lot of times we're just projecting our fears onto others and vice versa. So, again, I represent for myself as somebody who needs to clean up my own closet before I can come out into this world and do any sort of organization, right? Or bring some sort of order to my universe, whether I'm outside talking to my neighbor or whether I'm talking to family, friends, whatever it is. I need to come correct in this place, the heart space. And I need to make sure that I'm coming from a place that I've been diligent about looking and cleaning up. And if you can stand on that, then you're able to stand against anything because you know where your truth is. You know who you are. You don't need to fake it. You don't need to flaunt it. All you need to do is stand there and just, it will represent itself in quietness and humility. And so, like I said, I want to keep this one pretty short and sweet, getting back into the flow of these things with these videos. Also, a little self promotion. I'm going to be shooting a new music video next Saturday. I'm really happy to announce that. Be on the lookout for that. It's for a song called Strussin', pretty upbeat, pretty hip hoppy. So I'm really looking forward to releasing that to the world. And yeah, so just a little quick promotion. And the other thing is, like I said, stay true to yourself, but get to know yourself and be honest. Get past all these layers and quietness. Do it with God, and you will not regret anything because you're going to get a lot further bringing that in than you would on your own. You might be running in circles forever. And so that's my uh, that's my story for the day. Again, I hope everyone is doing well. I hope that this brings some motivation to you. I hope you were able to pick out some nuggets. And yeah, I love everybody. God bless. Continue to follow the channel. I'm going to have some services up on my website pretty soon that are going to be very much crafted to people who are having a hard time being creative in their life, people who are not even trying, but just procrastinating in their mind and their heart when they know damn well there is a vision inside of them that God is calling them to release into this world, not only for the expansion of themselves, but for the expansions of others, which is really the most important thing. As my mentor always says, when man thinks he is giving, he is really receiving. So, anyway, it was really nice to be with you here today. Thank you guys all for your continued support. Hit that like button. To all anybody who's willing to subscribe, thank you so much. I'm going to leave my contact information in the description of this. I love to hear from anybody who's interested in getting out of their own way and becoming more creative in their life. As I said, I'm going to have some services for you in March and some more new music to come. This channel is just starting to catch more fire, and I feel a rebirth, baby. All right, everybody, take care. Much love and many blessings. Peace.